Well, hey, welcome to DeCENTRAFIVE. My name is Jason Dukes, and this is the podcast where we try to take 5-ish minutes and go run really through 10 questions. And our special guest today is Andrew Birkholz. He's the co-founder and CEO of RedRex.com. It's an incredible metaverse space. I'll let him tell you more about it. But welcome to the show, Andrew.
Thanks for having me.
So let's jump right in. First question, who's going to win the Stanley Cup?
Oh, this one's very obvious to me. I live in Denver, so 100% Colorado Avalanche. I have no doubts in my mind. I grew up playing hockey too, so I've never seen a faster hockey team in my life.
So how will Web3 NFTs affect businesses and the B2B space? You've got some background in that. How do you feel like Web3 and NFTs will affect them?
Yeah, it's something that we've actually spent quite a bit of time thinking about because, I come from a B2B space. I was a consultant doing software engineering, and then we started a company called Pink Line, which was basically helping businesses utilize artificial intelligence. And initially when RedRex came about, we were thinking about it as a business to business type product. It's evolved since, but we've actually talked to quite a few corporations, big name, household name companies, and they're very interested in getting into the metaverse. I think a lot of companies are asking themselves, how do I get into the metaverse? What does this mean to my business? So, I think there's a lot of amazing opportunities for businesses to get in the space, and the earlier they get in, the better. I think it, allows them to expand their reach. The idea of bridging the gap between the virtual or the digital world and the physical world with stores for retailers, things like that. There's some amazing opportunities. And then, just getting community feedback. I think it's one of the coolest things about Web3 is that you can listen to a community of people to help you build a better business, better products, better product market fit, test things, So I think it has the ability to, expand reach, get feedback, and also just increase revenue, right? And I think the younger generation is spending more time in the metaverse. So I'm actually super excited to see how businesses start to utilize the Web3 world. And I think once that starts happening, you're going to see this go pretty mainstream.
I love it. So on that same line, 3 ways that artificial intelligence will be used in the metaverse.
That's something we thought a lot about too, given the background and creating neural networks and machine learning models and all this stuff for a couple of years. I think for sure the idea of bots. So not bots in the sense we think today, but more bots that you can actually interact with and have, almost like a virtual assistant kind of a situation where you can ask a question and get a human readable response, help you find information, bring you to different metaverses, places you want to see in the metaverse, people you want to meet in the metaverse, and just like informational bots in general, because the bots are getting so much better. I mean, even in RedRex, we in the early prototypes, we had some AI. We still do. We haven't released them yet, but we have some AI bots that we want to put on the platform to help users set meetings, meet with people, and do all the things I just said. I think there's also some really interesting stuff going on with generative art in AI. I don't think that the AIs will ever really replace human creativity, but it could, create a new look on, generative NFTs and even I think the third one would probably be like world creation in different metaverses, and just like designing your spaces. I think AI can really help basically speed up these processes that can be tedious. I think after being in AI, it's like kind of it's definitely here. You don't really notice it. Things like Siri and but it still has a long ways to go. And I don't even know I should say this, but I think it's like a Web 4, Web 5 is going to be, AI powered internet where it's way easier to like implement AI models on the internet, because right now it's a little slow and expensive.
No, it's cool. Yeah, I think speak to code even. I mean, just different concepts that I think really will
Mm-hmm.
make it faster. I love that. So
Mm-hmm.
what's the origin story for RedRex?
Yeah, this is quite a story. So we had exited our last company, Pink Lion, in March 2020. And for anybody who thinks back to that time, that was right at the beginning of lockdowns, COVID, becoming more, it was just becoming more of a thing. The market was kind of going down, and I was in our team. We still had our team from Pink Lion, so we were kind of looking at what are we going to do next. And literally that same month, we sold the company. This started to happen. I was in Minneapolis. We were stuck in our houses, couldn't really go do anything. And we thought to ourselves, like, well, maybe we should create something that helps us work remotely together. And we're sick of Zoom and Slack and all these things. They're good tools, but it just didn't feel, we just wanted something better, right? And we really built RedRex for ourselves to make it a little easier to endure the world at that time. And then, furthermore, there was riots going on in the city, and it was a rough time in Minneapolis. It was a very uncertain time. And, so we literally started, our team, we started building this thing. We were spending 15 hours a day, just like, hey, one thing after next. Didn't really have, clear requirements or, anything like that. We just kept building and building it. And like literally from probably the first couple of weeks of creating the initial prototype, we just started using it. And, as we used it, and we still do to this day to run our whole company, we just kept adding things that we would want. Right. And so I think it's always good to use your own product, right? And we really do use it like 10 hours a day at least, three continents. We have 16 people across 3 continents. Half the people on our team I've never actually met in person, but I've gotten to build relationships with them via our platform. So
Wow.
pretty wild. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. So it's 2025 and RedRex is successful because of what?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, one of the really core components of our mission with RedRex is to allow people to work remotely, live the life they want to live. During that whole time, I moved from Minneapolis to Denver, and we still were running this business. And I just thought, I think this is something I want everybody to be able to do. I've worked in corporate, and I've worked in a lot of different companies, and it's a great thing. But I think giving people the option to kind of, spend more time with their families, travel, and do the things they want to do in life while still working is a huge component to like why we're building this. And so I think in 2025, it's successful because we've actually unlocked that for people and given people the opportunities to make money on their own through RedRex, and build communities and really live the lifestyle they want to live. So I think that that's a critical goal to what we're doing, and if we pull that off in the way we intend to, I think that's what makes us successful.
That's awesome. So along those same lines, just briefly describe, where do you see the future of work heading?
And I think it kind of, I think the future of work, and we've seen this kind of happen over the last, basically since Web 2. I think it goes toward, like, it's never been a better time to be an entrepreneur. I would say that, right? Like you can start a business with very low amount of money today that creates a massive value for the world. And never before in history, I do not believe it's been a better time to start business, right? And so where do I see the future work? I think the future work becomes, we're evolving into more of a freelance economy. You know, we have things like Airbnb, Uber, you name it, the sharing economy, right? Which has created opportunities for people to, you know, build businesses, make income, make passive income. I mean, you can get Uber, flick a switch on the app, and you can drive for an hour if you want to make a little money, right? And I think Web3 just is like pushing this further, right? It's going to make it easier to do independent work and own your data, own what you built, which is, I think it's been a long time coming. And blockchain technology is just the result of the way the world's going, you know, with a very global economy. You know, like I said, we have people in 3 different continents working here. You know, and I just think that the future of work is this, you know, definitely there'll be some, I think you don't ever want to replace in real life stuff. I think that's important. I don't think it should be completely remote, but I think it's going to be, you know, a hybrid model, and the world's going to figure that out. And companies have to listen to that now because people are expecting it.
It's good. It's really good. So what do you think generosity and serving might look like in the metaverse?
Yeah, you know, I think there's a lot of different ways. I think it's, you know, helping people gain freedom, you know, I think is a really important thing. Freedom to kind of make decisions for themselves and do the things they want to do in their life. How does it happen? I think one of the coolest things about Web3 and the metaverse and all this stuff is just like the people's willingness to meet each other and partner with each other and help each other. It's one of the coolest things I think about with like just entrepreneurship in general. Most entrepreneurs are willing to help because they know how hard it is. And when you're going out on your own, you know, having someone to talk to and having someone to give you guidance, give you, you know, introductions to other people is really important. So I think the metaverse is really going to facilitate a new, I don't know, like a new way to socialize on the internet and allow you to really like give to people in the sense of, you know, educational and guidance and just like helping each other out. I think that's what it looks like. I think there's also there's a lot of really cool stuff going on in terms of you know, donations and like just like NGOs and some more of the you know, private business stuff. There's a lot of interesting things going on in the space regarding, you know, governments and cities and just organizations. So that's an interesting question. There's probably 100 different answers to that one. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. I think it's an important one, but it's good. I love how you answered it. So, you know, RedRex, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but in a lot of ways, RedRex kind of mirrors the real city, right? Like, I mean, that's one way that you're using it, I'm guessing. You know, to where you're building icons and buildings that could end up looking a lot like the actual city of New York or Boston or Denver or Nashville or whatever, right? And, you know, so like, do you even have plans to put different icons, like even in the city of Denver, you know, where you are, to be included in RedRex build outs?
Yeah, well, my wife and I love hiking. We love the outdoors. Part of the reason we came here. And I would love to, one of the things we've thought about is doing something with national parks and nature, right? Yeah, because it's something that, I mean, I just love. It's a special thing to me. And I would love for people to somehow experience some of these things. You know, and I'm not sure what that means, but like you said, you know, our metaverse is based on the real world, on a real world map. It's not a fantasy world. And therefore we have a lot of interesting opportunities to go beyond just cities and buildings, but to go to spaces in the world, right? Yeah. Where maybe you could go to, you know, on the map in RedRex, you zoom into Rocky Mountain National Park, which is about an hour and a half north of Denver. and see some, wildlife live streamed, like elk, or, there's a moose walking across the street, take a look, right? And so I think there's some really cool things we could do. It's just giving people a way to like explore the world digitally. And I think that could happen in the future.
I think that's awesome. So how will real estate and virtual estate begin to blur this decade, do you think? I mean, because that's part of y'all's model, I think, but
Yeah.
how will they begin to blur?
Yeah. So I look at what we're doing in a lot of ways. We're creating a digital twin of buildings and real estate in the real world, right? So it's a very fascinating idea when you ask somebody which, because we basically have a map, and you don't have to own the building that you own in our metaverse. You don't need to own it in real life and in the physical world. And it's really interesting to hear people answer that question: which city would you buy, or which building would you buy, right? And I think there's going to be it's just going to build like a really cool layer on top of the real world, because I think we're really into the idea of it. I think it's going to be extremely difficult to replace reality, real life, like the smell of things and the feeling of sun on your face, and just like the different senses that the real world gives you when you go out into it. But what I think we see ourselves as like this bridge between the digital and the physical world. And so having the ability when you're in New York City, or you're in downtown Denver, or whatever, wherever you might be, to have like a way to look at who owns that building or that space in the digital world. And it almost gives you like just another layer on top of a really exciting place called reality. Right. So yeah.
That's so cool, man. I think it'll be exciting to see how that continues to develop. So it's a question that we ask everybody who comes on. Who else should we invite onto DeCentrafy?
Well, if you haven't yet, I would say Chris Tabb. He's building the Resistance DAO. I met him about, I don't know, a month and a half ago via LinkedIn, and I think what they're doing over there is it's going to be really good for the space. He's collecting a bunch of very experienced entrepreneurs and people who are building amazing things in Web3, and giving them an opportunity to actually fund their projects. So yeah, if you haven't interviewed him, I think he would be someone worth talking to for sure.
No question. Yeah, he's on the docket. We haven't gotten it done yet, so we need to get it done. I agree with you for sure. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, Andrew, it has been a joy connecting with you today. I hope people will take the time to go and check out redrex.com, sign up for the early access, get into the Discord, do those things. We'll have all the links to that in the show notes. But your answers today have really been informative. I think they've caused even, cast vision almost, right? And I just appreciate your kindness and your generosity of time and the way you're building in the space. It's really awesome.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, Jason, and I think what you guys are doing at DeCentrafIVE is awesome. So, and then if anyone listening to this wants to learn more, obviously feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and I know you'll share out all the links. So, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Rock on. Appreciate it, man.